Let's talk about Florida situation. This year, like never before, we see a lot of press about insurance companies going out of business, and their narrative is that it's roofing contractors, door knockers, storm chasers are behind it and pushing them out of business. Your take on it, is it really contractors who contributed and put those insurance companies out of business, or there's other plays behind the scenes that we're not talking about? Chad?
Well, rule number one, always have a scapegoat, right? It can't be their fault, right? It's always got to be somebody else's fault. And when you're pointing the finger at someone, you've always got at least three. For some roofers who've been up on the roofs for a while, it's maybe two pointing back. But I think also in Florida, there was a recent law as far as whether it was lawful for contractors to go and even knock on doors, which, Dimitri, I think we talked about that 250 days ago, as you reminded me, as far as that particular bill turning into law. And I said, well, if what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to preclude a contractor from going and knocking on doors and warning insureds that they've got possible storm damage, well, then you've got to preclude the vacuum cleaner salesman too. Because it's anyone who's walking up and who's going to sell something. So if these mismanaged insurance companies who basically can't keep their books right, and if you can't make money as an insurance company, you should not be in business, period. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, especially if you can insure against your own, insure against yourself. So have a scapegoat, and I think the contractors were the easiest prey.
Yeah, the contractors in Florida were not a scapegoat. They were not prey. They were the cause. Because in Florida, Florida allows AOBs. And we all know the problem with an AOB, an assignment of benefits. Once that contractor gets his hand on the claim, all aspects of it, including ownership of litigation, it becomes a profit vehicle. And we all know what's happening with private equity getting involved and everybody coming in and financing litigation now, because the insurance claims process has become a profit-driven model. And that in Florida is because of AOBs. We don't have this problem in Texas because we don't allow AOBs. Florida does. And that has driven up the number of lawsuits because they begin with the door knockers, and then the contractors trying to win the storm on every claim, and they know it becomes an annuity. They can dump them all in litigation. The insurance company makes a business decision because they do know how to make money. They make a business decision to settle them, and it just perpetuates itself. And it finally got so bad in Florida that the reinsurance market said to the direct insurers, we're done. Insurance companies buy insurance on their risks. And that's called reinsurance. And the payments got so high that the reinsurers said, screw it, we're done in Florida, and the market was collapsing. And the one reason are those three letters, AOBs. And thank God we don't have them in Texas.
Well, where that argument fails is statistics. And if they were all legitimate claims, then the underwriters in Florida got it wholeheartedly wrong, whether they were AOBs or not. Now,
what statistics, Chad, when you have meritless claims? They sign up every single person, regardless of whether they were in the eye of the storm or not, knowing that they can just sign them up and dump it in litigation. The statistics show that Florida has more lawsuits in weather-related claims than the rest of the country combined.
The last time I looked, an illegitimate claim is still worth zero. So what's the point? I don't know how that affects the statistics.
Because it costs $150,000 to $200,000, as you know, to take a matter to trial. And when they can settle it for 15 or 10, they make a business decision. But in the end, it's costing a ton of money. Those are the statistics.
Are there any actuaries in the house?
I speak to actuaries, and this topic comes up all the time. All right, and there's a big issue about, do we settle these? Do we bundle them up and settle them and perpetuate the problem? Or do we try them all? All right, at 150 grand to try every one, the industry would have been bankrupt 5 years ago and not today. So AOBs, that is the problem.
That's the excuse.